Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070. Three, two, one, camera, one, rolling. You're a doll, Cookie Monster. And Camtasia video. This is strictly off the cuff this time. No preparations, no outlines. Let's turn audio on for Camtasia. Not the life cam, but the Yeti. And testing Camtasia audio 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, this is Seth David. Okay, and rolling in 3, 2, 1. Introduction to the introduction to video marketing for accounting professionals. That's what we're talking about here. First of all, I want to say how excited and encouraged I am that more and more people are chiming in to our video Facebook group with more videos. I love the fact that this group is filling up with videos, and now I wanted to do something because we've been posting a lot of videos, you know, doing live videos on Facebook and those sort of things, but I wanted to show you a very clear and distinct and concrete example of what you're going to see a whole lot more of on the webinar that we're having on Friday, December 1st. Now, don't forget to check the link below for a link to go sign up, or check the description in the video below for a link to go sign up for the webinar. Sign up by November 14th, 2017, and you got a coupon code which we're providing there to get $100 off. So instead of $250, it's $150. You get that, and in your order confirmation for the webinar, you'll get another coupon code and a link to another video webinar that I had done a while back on Camtasia, absolutely free. So you get this webinar for $100 off, or $150 before November 14th, and you get the other video that I did a few years ago absolutely free. So do it now. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't be a procrastinator. Let's take a look at my screen and see what I'm talking about here. So Sarah Laidlaw posted a question. I'll summarize it and say that the essence of her question is about blurring out sections in your video, and how do you do it. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take a section like this, and this is sample contact data, by the way, which you can easily I did a Google search and I found this website here called briandunning.com. So I can use this sample data. And wherever possible, just use sample data, don't use live data. But Sarah's trying to do training videos for a client, but she wants it to be sort of generic enough that I guess other people could use it without revealing some of the important confidential information. In other words, she wants to be able to blur things out when she's editing the video in Camtasia, and that's what we're going to take a look at right now. The initial part of this video was recorded with multiple sources. I had my DSLR going at the same time as I had Camtasia rolling, and I had multiple audio inputs. So I'm going to give you some bonus tips in this one. And remember that this is just a preview of what's going to happen in our Camtasia webinar on Friday, December 1st, 2017. So make sure you sign up. Even if you can't make it on that day, sign up and you'll get the recording, and you'll get it for a lot less money than what it's going to cost after the fact. So the initial recording was done so that I could get that portion of my screen recorded, so now I can go through the video and show you. But I figure I'll give you a couple of bonus tips. And this is already kind of some advanced stuff, to be very honest. But I'm going to leave in the whole portion that, you know, where I was rolling before I actually, you know, start doing any editing. The part I would normally cut out, because I want to teach you kind of this whole process, right? So we're looking at my screen at Camtasia. You're going to notice my lighting's terrible. Normally, I would never let this fly in an end product. But I was only using the LED lights that I have on my DSLR. I wasn't using my other light that I have in here. And also, the time of day is poor conditions, lighting-wise, for me to be recording, because there's got a lot of light behind me. Normally, I try to record either very early in the day when it's not that light out yet, or at nighttime when it's pretty dark. You have the best control over lighting, actually, when you have an overcast kind of day, because then you have control over your light, whereas otherwise the sun just kind of obliterates anything you're trying to do, especially if you're doing it outside. But even inside, if you're in a room with windows. So best place is in a room that's got no windows, and then once again you have total control over lighting. So let's take a look. First thing is I have 2 tracks down here, and you'll notice that I clapped in the beginning, and the reason for that is I want to be able to line up my 2 recordings, and you can see what it does is it creates that spike, so I know exactly how to line it up. Right now, track 2 is the DSLR, track 1 is Camtasia. I've got these pretty close. I'm going to move my scrubber over right where that spike is, because that looks about where I clapped. Let's zoom in and let's get them lined up perfectly. That looks about right, and let's test it. I'm going to actually stop the recording for a second and restart it. It'll be seamless for you, but I want to make sure that I've got the option turned on to record system sounds. Otherwise, you won't be able to hear what I'm hearing. Okay, so again, I clapped to create this spike in the audio so that I could line these up perfectly. So let's play it back and see what this sounds like. All right, so you could hear the clap was perfect. You can't even tell that there's 2 different tracks on here. So now I know these are perfectly synced up. Now, normally then, I would actually clip this video track right here, right before my actual talking starts. Okay, but I'm going to leave it all in because I kind of want you to see the whole thing. I want you to see the whole process. Next, we're going to take a look at how to do what this video promises to teach you how to do, which is to blur out a section, right? I want to show you how to blur out the part where we're showing you the Excel. And then there's another challenge here I'm going to teach you real quick, which is the fact that I have 2 video tracks, right? So on the top is the DSLR footage. On the bottom is the screen footage. So let's zoom out on the timeline here. And I'm going to advance forward. And notice you won't be able to see what's going on the screen because one is behind the other, right? So whatever's on top down here in the tracks over here in the actual video part supersedes what's below it. And you just saw an example of that because if I click and drag and let's say move this to the right, you can see the Facebook part, you know, of my screen recording in the background. So we want to now, I'm going to play this back. I want to get to the part in the audio where it's time to transition from me over to what I was recording on my screen. So let's play this back. For the webinar, sign up by November 14th. Now you can hear just a hint of an echo there, which of course reminds me I want to pull out one of the audios here. So I'm going to keep the DSLR audio, and I'm going to pull out, because the DSLR audio was recorded with my lavalier mic, which is much better audio than even the Yeti Blue, which is what I'm recording on the Camtasia part. So I'm going to right-click on track 1, which is the Camtasia audio, and we're going to actually click here where it says Separate Audio and Video. I mean, Camtasia makes this so easy. Now you can clearly distinguish this is the audio track from the Yeti Blue, from the screen recording, and I just select it and hit the delete button and grab this and drag it down. And remember, we lined it up at the spike, but I no longer need that because I've now got it lined up, so that should be perfect. All right, now let's listen for the transition. I'm gonna show you how to edit for the transition to replace what's behind me from the screen recording with what you're seeing of me, which is that dark, shadowy version of me because my lighting was terrible. 2017, and you got a coupon code which we're providing there to get $100 off. So instead of $250, it's $150. You get that, and in your order confirmation for the webinar, you'll get another coupon code and a link to another video webinar that I had done a while back on Camtasia, absolutely free. So you get this webinar for $100 off, or $150 before November 14th, and you get the other video that I did a few years ago absolutely free. So do it now. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't be a procrastinator. Let's take a look at my screen. Notice there I gave it's really for you just to kind of transition it, but it's also an audio cue for myself. This is the part where I know I want to switch over to the screen. So we're going to back up on the timeline. And there's a number of different ways you can do this, but I'm going to teach you the easiest way. So without having to cut tracks and move things around, I'm just going to select track number 2, which again is the DSLR track. We're going to go over here to Animations. And then Animations again, because the Animations tab here is broken up into 2 parts, the zoom and pan and the actual animations. I'm going to take the custom animation, and you can just click and drag that right over to the track. I guess that didn't work. Usually that works with these things. So instead I'll just right click it and choose add to selected media, and notice it creates this little doohickey thing down here. That's really a transition cue. So if I now zoom in on my video, basically whatever I do, notice my scrubber or my timeline marker, the scrubber is the other name for it, it's right at the end. So whatever I do to this is what it's going to look like by the time this transition has finished. So all I really want to do to keep it simple, while I've got this track selected and I'm right at the end of the transition, notice here to my right are my properties, and notice I have opacity, and I'm just going to fade that out to 0. So now what's left, I've faded this out, I've increased the opacity to 0, and so that it'll transition now from the beginning of this transition marker to the end, from being able to see track 2 to not being able to see track 2, which of course has the effect of revealing track 1. Let's play that back and see what that looks like.
I'm unable to process your request.
Quiet, Google Assistant.
Try.
All right, let's play that back.
Don't wait till the last minute. Don't be a procrastinator. Let's take a look at my...
See that? So that's a very easy, smooth way to transition something like that. And now we're just going to show you one more thing, how to blur out the section, as you'll see when I when I get to the Excel part, assuming that that were data that I didn't want revealed in the actual video. So let's keep going.
And see what I'm talking about here. So Sarah Laidlaw posted a question. I'll summarize it and say that the essence of her question is about blurring out sections in your video, and how do you do it. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take...
Perfect. So this is the part where we want to start blurring things out. Now, presumably we would want to start the blur effect the moment this appeared on screen, because even a split second, remember on YouTube, I can pause a video and do all kinds of things to zoom in, and you have to almost assume somebody's going to try, right? So with that in mind, I want to back this up on the timeline right to the very moment when it switches from what I was looking at before to looking at this spreadsheet. All right, and sometimes you have to go quite a ways. All right, and so now that I think I'm here, we're going to use these guys, which are step forward and step backwards, right? And I'm going to tap this one at a time. Sometimes this part of video editing can be very detailed, but it's worth it because you end up with a great outcome. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom, that's where it appeared. Back 2, I think I'll do it. Forward 1. So we need it transitioned by this time. I'm going to step back 1, and now we're going to add the blur annotation. So we're going to go to annotations, and this you have to just start to memorize by playing with it and seeing what's where. So this little drop looking thing gives you the blur and highlight effects, right? So here's blur, and again we're going to right click and choose add to timeline at playhead. So that blur is going to show up. Now let's advance forward 1. And now you can see very clearly where the blur is, so we just want to establish what information we want hidden, right? So let's say these numbers over here, let's say we don't want to reveal their phone numbers in this video, right? So we're going to highlight, or not highlight, but we're going to drag this guy over here. Now, one trick, by the way, if you're recording something and you know that you're going to need to blur something out, try and avoid moving around the screen. It'll make your editing job much, much easier down the road. Now let's advance to the right. This is your blur. This, as long as you see this blur here on now track 3, it's going to blur out that section of the screen. So we may need to extend it. Just click and drag to the right here, right? Until such time as you're not revealing that part of your screen anymore. Let's zoom out so I can advance more quickly along the timeline. And let's get out to here. Right, so you see I haven't moved, which is good. So if I was sitting there talking about this, I would just want to keep bringing this out. Now if I'm zooming in at some point, let's go to animations, zoom and pan, right? If I'm zooming in, I don't have to worry about it, but I don't have to, I don't have to get rid of it. Right, here's my zoom and pan, so I can just focus on, this part of it. Right, and so now I don't have to worry so much about the blur, but it's also going to be a lot easier to just extend it right till the end. So let's bring that right back out here, because let's say before I actually finish, which looks like I'm finishing right about here, we're going to want to scale that back to fit, Notice it created transitions on all of the tracks for when I zoomed in, and also when I hit scale to fit, effectively zooming back out, it created them again. So this shows you where in the timeline those transitions are going to happen. And of course, if you zoom in on the track, then you can kind of, it's zooming into this, so it's a little easier to get into, you know, kind of what's happening from here to here on your timeline. And notice, even as I zoom back out, I'm still blurred exactly where I need to be because I didn't move the screen around. So what I mean is when you're recording, try to do very minimal scrolling up and down or right and left when you know you're showing something on your screen that you're going to need to keep blurred in editing. Because if I scrolled to the right, then I would have to transition this blur thing to make sure it moves along with the data moving across the screen. That, of course, we'll show you in the webinar. So, my friends, that's your introduction to video marketing for accounting professionals. As always, I hope you learned something here, had some fun along the way. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you in the webinar.